They shipped him in on a rainy dawn in 1945, right after we'd clawed our way up from the beaches of Okinawa. The island was a green hell, all jagged ridges and sucking mud that pulled at your boots like it wanted to keep you forever. Our platoon, what was left of it after the Japs hit us with those knee mortars, had been whittled down to 22 souls, all of us black boys from the South and Midwest, faces smeared with that red clay that never washed off. We'd been fighting since Hacksaw Ridge loomed up ahead, that saw-toothed bastard of a hill where the real meat grinder waited. I was Sergeant Walter Blues Jackson, 38 and feeling every damn year, with scars from Guadalcanal that still itched when it stormed. I'd seen too many good men turn to red mist, and I wasn't about to nursemaid some fresh meat. He stepped off the Jeep like he was reporting for a church picnic. Private Samuel Preacher Washington, all of 19, straight out of some Alabama backwater, where his daddy preached fire and brimstone on Sundays. His uniform was starched crisp, not a speck of that island filth on it, while the rest of us looked like we'd been dragged through a pigsty. The other vets, guys like Corporal George Harlem Brown and Private First Class Robert Shadow Harris, eyed him like he was a stray dog that might piss on the floor. I could tell right off. Soft hands, wide eyes that darted like a deer's, and a Bible tucked in his pack, bigger than his rations. The lieutenant, that green kid from Boston who thought war was like his history books, had signed off on him being a medic, non-combatant, wouldn't touch a rifle, said it was his faith or some such nonsense. Conscientious objector, the paper read. I spat tobacco juice into the mud. In this war, that just meant dead weight. First inspection, and the fool drops his pack. Out spills his gear. Bandages, morphine syrettes, that damn Bible flopping open to Psalms like it was going to save us from the Emperor's fanatics. His M1 Garand, wait, no, he didn't have one. Just a medic's pouch and a helmet that sat too loose on his close-cropped head. Pick that shit up, preacher, I barked, my voice gravel from yelling over the waves the night before. He fumbled, cheeks flushing dark under that sweat, and the whole platoon chuckled low, the kind that hides the ache. George muttered, boy's gonna get us all kilt for supper. Samuel straightened up, mumbling, sorry, Sarge. Won't happen again. His voice cracked like a boy's, all earnest plea. I just stared him down till he looked at his boots. Earnest, don't stop bullets. That afternoon, the Nips decided to remind us who owned this rock. Mortar rounds started whispering in. Those 81mm bastards that could turn a foxhole into a grave before you blinked. Incoming, Robert yelled, and we all dove for cover, bellies flat in the slime of our scraped-out holes. Me and the boys had them dug deep, 4 feet at least, with overhead logs from the few palms that hadn't been shredded. But Preacher? He froze, just stood there in the open, pack half on, eyes big as saucers, while the world cracked open around him. Shrapnel whined like angry hornets, one chunk slicing his pant leg clean. I lunged, tackled him into the nearest hole, my ribs barking from the impact. We hit mud bottom, and I came up swinging. You stupid son of a bitch. You want to die before you unpack? He gasped, covered in my spit and muck, whispering something about, the Lord will provide. Provide a pine box, maybe. The barrage lifted after what felt like eternity, leaving that ringing silence where you wait for the next one. I hauled him out, shoved him toward his own half-assed scrape in the earth, barely 2 feet deep, more puddle than protection. Dig, preacher, dig like your Jesus is coming tomorrow and the devil's got the shovel. He nodded, grabbing the entrenching tool with hands that shook, but he worked. Slow, though. Too slow. The boys watched from their positions, Robert shaking his head. Sarge, that boy's from the world where they pray away the rain. This here's the devil's downpour. Night fell sticky and hot, the kind that bred fevers and bad dreams. We huddled in the command tent, a sagging canvas affair that smelled of a wet canvas and unwashed fear. Lieutenant briefed us on the push tomorrow. Up the ridge toward Hacksaw, feel out the Jap lines. Eyes sharp, men. MacArthur's counting on us to crack this nut. Yeah, the big chief with his corncob pipe, promising he'd return. We were the blood price. Preacher sat at the edge, fiddling with his bandages, asking questions that grated like sand in a wound. Sarge, how do we know if a man's hurt bad enough for morphine? And what if the lines get crossed? Friendly fire. George snorted. Boy, if it's friendly, it still bleeds the same. I cut in sharp. You listen, not talk. Your job's patching holes, not philosophizing. And pray all you want, but when the MG-42 starts singing, you hit dirt like the rest of us sinners. He tried to buddy up after, offering to share his K-rations, canned ham and Spam that looked untouched. Brought some extra jerky from home, Sarge. Mama's recipe. I waved him off. Keep your mama's love, preacher. We eat what kills us slower. Truth was, it twisted something in me, seeing him pull that letter from his pocket later, under the dim glow of a cigarette lighter. He read it slow, lips moving, eyes wet. Home. Girl waiting, probably. Church socials and sweet tea. I remembered my own letters, fewer now, from a wife who stopped writing after Sicily. Pathetic, I growled to Robert as we smoked. Kid's a ghost in his own skin. Gonna haunt us all if he don't toughen. Next morning, the march to the line. Preacher's gear clanked, pouches not cinched right, canteen banging his thigh like a bell. Every step he lagged, eyes on the jungle that hid snipers with those Arsaka rifles, scopes glinting like devil's eyes. Eyes front, preacher. You're louder than a Sherman revving. He hitched it up, but not before a branch snapped under his boot, loud as a gunshot in the hush. The platoon froze, fingers on triggers, nothing. But it could have been everything. I grabbed his collar, pulled him close. You hear that, boy? That's the sound of your grave calling. One more fuck up and I'll bury you myself. By noon, we hit the first probe. A skirmish line of Japs in their faded uniforms. Bayonets fixed like they meant to die screaming Banzai. We poured fire from the Garands, that sweet ping of the empty clip hitting dirt. Mine barked steady, dropping two before they closed. But Preacher? He crouched behind a log, cigarettes out, waiting for hurts that hadn't come yet. When a wounded man, young Joseph King Williams, gutshot from a ricochet, screamed, Preacher scrambled over, hands steady for once. He patched the bleeder, morphine and quick whispering prayers. King went quiet, eyes grateful. But as the smoke cleared, I saw it. Preacher had fired off a flare by mistake earlier. White star popping too soon, maybe drawing those Japs down on us. God damn it, I hissed, yanking him back. You just painted a target on our asses. Coward with a cross, that's you. The platoon pulled back to regroup, King's litter bumping over roots. I lit a lucky, staring at the ridge ahead, Hacksaw's teeth biting the sky. This kid was poison. All faith and no fight, dragging us toward the abyss. I'd seen it before, green boys breaking, costing lives. Tomorrow's push, I'd make sure he stayed out of it. Or better yet, out of it permanent. War don't need saints, it needs survivors. Dawn broke gray and mean on the third day, the kind of light that turned the jungle into a watercolor of greens and shadows, hiding God knows what. We'd licked our wounds from that skirmish. King William's still feverish in the aid station, mumbling about his girl back in Kansas. The ridge, Hacksaw's lower slopes, loomed like a bad tooth in the distance. All razor wire and pillboxes the Japs had carved into the rock. Lieutenant huddled over his map in the CP, that damp tent flapping like a scared bird, while I chain-smoked camels and watched the mist roll in off the East China Sea. Radio crackled faint. MacArthur's boys are pushing from the south, but we hold the flank. Take Hill 89, eyes on the valley, no heroics. Yeah, easy for the brass in their tents. We were the hammer on the anvil. Preacher, Samuel, had spent the night digging his hole deeper, at least axe marks fresh in the coral. He looked smaller in the gloom, Bible open on his knee, whispering verses like they could ward off the malaria. The boys gave him space. George sharpening his bayonet with a whetstone's rasp, Robert oiling his Garand's bolt, that metallic click a comfort in the quiet. No one spoke to the kid after yesterday's flare fiasco. Me? I paced, boots sinking in the muck, mind on the push. Hill 89 was key. Spot the nip counterattack brewing in the draw below. Call it in before they flanked us, like at Palayu. But with Preacher? One more freeze, and we'd all pay. I eyed him, that cross necklace glinting dull. Time to thin the herd. Lieutenant spread the map, finger tracing the blue pencil line. Sergeant Jackson, your platoon takes point. Flank left, secure the crest. I'll have the 105 zeroed if it heats up. His voice all West Point polish, but eyes twitchy. First real op since stateside. I nodded, scanning my men. 18 now, counting the kid. George caught my look, raised a brow. Sarge? I jerked my chin towards Samuel, who was folding his Bible careful, like it was glass. Preacher, front and center. He jumped up, helmet crooked, pouches slung loose. The platoon went still, sensing the wind shift. Hey, listen good, boy. I kept my voice low, but it carried in the hush. That mist out there's thicker than sin. Need eyes on the far ridge. Hill 91 overlooks the draw. Take the field phone, spool of wire, 500 yards. Crawl it quiet, string the line, report what you see. Tanks, infantry, Nimbus, anything. No flares this time. Got it? His Adam's apple bobbed, eyes flicking to the fog bank, where vines tangled like barbed wire, and snipers waited patient as spiders. The wire spool weighed 20 pounds, phone another 10. Drag that through Kenai grass under possible eyes, and you'd be a sieve before the crest. Solo, no cover. I watched his face drain, that deep brown paling to ash. Perfect. George shifted, boots scraping dirt. Robert's jaw tightened, fingers flexing on his stock. Even the lieutenant paused, map forgotten. They knew. It was a widowmaker, tossed to the greenest meat. Sympathy flickered in their stares. Quick, gone, but there. Preacher swallowed hard, hands trembling as he shouldered the spool, phone clipped to his web gear. Yes, Sarge, I'll do it for the boys. His voice a thread, but he met my eyes, that preacher's fire flickering faint behind the fear. I almost laughed. For the boys? This war ate boys whole. Move out. And preacher, don't call till you got gold. Otherwise, stay put. I turned away, spitting into the mud. Rest of you, on me. Garan's hot, grenades loose. He vanished into the mist like smoke. The spools drag, leaving a faint trail in the wet earth. I didn't look back. Wouldn't see him again, probably. Sniped clean, or tripped a mine, or just froze till the jungle claimed him. One less burden. The platoon fell in behind. Single file, M1s at low ready. Bayonets fixed dull in the gray. We humped opposite, southwest toward 89's base, where the real fight waited. Jungle closed in. Elephant grass whipping thighs. Roots snagging ankles like traps. George low whispered, Sarge. That was cold as a witch's tit. Kid's got heart, even if it's in his boots. I grunted, slapping a mosquito on my neck. Heart don't stop a Type 99 round, Harlem. War's no Sunday school. He's a prayer in a foxhole, pretty but useless. Half click in, the air thickened, humidity pressing like a wet blanket. Birds scream sudden, then nothing. That eerie quiet before lead flies. I signaled halt, scanned the tree line. Lieutenant's voice in my head. No heroics. Bull. Heroes were the dead ones. My mind wandered to the kid, out there alone, pictured him uncoiling wire, inching through ferns, breath ragged, praying to a god who'd gone quiet since 42. Poor bastard. From what? Cotton fields and revivals. Where sin was whiskey and women, not this. Crawling blind into hell, spool bumping rocks, phone cord snagging thorns. One snap, and he'd light up like Christmas. Or worse, he'd make it halfway, see ghosts in the mist, and bolt. Cost us the ridge. By noon, we hit the base of 89, dug in shallow while the lieutenant called for smoke. Mist burned off slow, revealing the crest. Bunkers like warts on the rock, machine guns winking. Main push in 10, I growled over the walkie. Boys checked loads. 8 rounds per clip. Garan's Woodstock warm from carry. George passed chews, silent. No jokes today. I lit another smoke, staring east, where Preacher had gone. Nothing. No crackle on the line, no burst. Figured. War's call started early. Kids like him, idealists with crosses, broke first or died trying. We were the survivors, scarred and sour. Time to earn it. The whistle blew. We rose, ghosts in green, and charged into the green hell. Bullets whined soon after, but that's another story. We hit the base of Hill 89 like a storm, grands cracking sharp in the humid air, that familiar ping of clips ejecting like brass prayers. The mist had burned off, leaving the slope bare, coral outcrops and knee-high grass that hid nothing but death. Lieutenant led from the middle, his Thompson chattering short bursts, while George and Robert flanked me, bayonets glinting dull. "Push!" I yelled over the roar, heart pounding steady from too many of these. The first Jap bunker fell easy, a pillbox of logs and sandbags, its Type 92 crew spilling out like roaches when our grenades popped inside. One screamed, "Banzai!" before Robert's 3006 took his head clean. We cleared it hot, flames licking the entrance, and dropped into the trench, shallow, stinking of fish head rations and sweat. "Secure!" I barked. Boys stacked gear, lit smokes. For a breath, it felt good. Ridge crest in sight, valley below empty. MacArthur's return? Maybe we'd buy it cheap. George grinned, wiping blood. His or theirs, who knew, from his cheek. "Like shooting gophers, Sarge." Robert nodded, reloading smooth his shadow, quiet broken by a rare laugh. Even the lieutenant looked steady, map out, marking our gain. 17 men now, no fresh holes in the line. I scanned the ridgeline. Bunkers quiet, no Nambu chatter. Too quiet? Nah. Japs were reeling from the naval barrage last night. Those 16-inchers turning their lines to gravel. We pressed on, stringing wire for the phones, probing the next fold. Trench widened to a draw, walls steep with vines. "Eyes open," I growled. Lieutenant signaled forward and we flowed like water, boots sucking mud. Then it cracked open. Flank erupted, not ahead, but left, where the jungle met rock. An MG-42? No, a Type 99. That water-cooled beast the Nips copied from Kraut's. But it sang the same hell. Rat-a-tat-tat ripping the air, tracers glowing green in daylight. Bullets chewed the trench lip, spitting coral dust like bone meal. "Down!" I hit dirt, George slamming beside me, his helmet pinging off a rock. Robert fired blind, Garan barking once, before a round clipped his shoulder, spinning him back. Blood bloomed dark on his shirt. "Flanks pinned," Lieutenant yelled, Thompson empty, fumbling a clip. We were in the kill sack, trench funneling us, walls too sheer to climb, grass ahead, zero cover. Our Sherman lumbered up then, that 70-ton beast growling support from the trail, 75 Nutzer traversing slow. Hope flickered, but a shadow leaped from the vines. A knee mortar? No, a suicidal bastard with a Type 97 grenade launcher, tube belching fire. The round arced lazy, slammed the turret. Boom. Secondary cooked off, ammo rack igniting in a whoosh of orange. Tracks locked, the tank slewed, belching black smoke. Crew bailing as shrapnel sleeted us. One man, Private Harris, not our Robert, took it in the neck, gurgling wet. Medic, old Joe. King, backup, scrambled but yelled back, "Sarge, Bintang gone, morphine's low." His hands red already. 3 boys down, gut shots, legs mangled. Radio next. I grabbed the set from the lieutenant's runner, keyed it frantic. "Eagle 6, this is Blues 1. Pinned, request fire mission," static hissed, then a whine, shrapnel from a mortar tag, glass shattering, dial sparking dead. Cut off. No Artie, no air. Just us, 20 yards of ditch, and that gun pouring lead. Japs swarmed the lip now, shadows in faded green lobbing potato mashers. Those steel hand granite eggs, fused short, bursting with shrapnel that whined like wasps. One rolled in, I kicked it back, exploded midair, peppering my arm with stings. George dragged Robert deeper, tourniquet twisting. "Hold, Shadow, hold!" I peeked, saw the trap clear. False quiet, baited trench, flanking nests we'd missed in the push. My push. "God damn it," I muttered, tasting copper fear. Boy's eyes. George's hard but flickering. Lieutenant's wide. That West Point shine cracked. Even mine, stinging. Best fighters now ghosts, breath ragged. Grenades out! On my mark! Break right! I roared, pulling 2 pineapples. But the fire, too thick, stitching the exit like a seam. One boy rose, young Arthur, brother Lee, charged screaming. Mowed down, body jerking puppet strings. Losses piled, 8 gone, moans rising. We were meat in the grinder, Hacksaw's jaws closing. My fault. Let him blind into this. Bullets chipped inches away, world narrowing to mud and muzzle flash, end coming fast. The trench was a slaughter pen now, air thick with cordite and the copper tang of blood. We'd lost 9. Good men like Arthur, folded over with a gut full of steel, his eyes glassy under the helmet rim. George pressed a compress to Robert's shoulder, the big man's breaths coming ragged, while the lieutenant crawled low. Thompson clutched like a talisman. That Type 99 up on the lip kept stitching the air, rounds kicking up coral chips that stung like hornets. Grenades sailed in lazy arcs, bursting with shrapnel whines. Ping, ping, ping against helmets, one clipping my boot heel close enough to singe the leather. We're done, I thought, tasting defeat bitter as quinine. My Grand was down to 3 clips, barrel hot as a poker, and the boys' faces, those dark, sweat-slick masks, held that 1,000-yard stare, the one that says you've seen your number called. Japs massed for the kill, shadows cresting the edge, bayonets like silver teeth in the sun. One more push, and we'd be fertilizer for this god-forsaken rock. Then it started, back there in their lines, maybe 50 yards through the vines. A muffled crump, like a demo charge gone off wrong, and their MG nest erupted in a geyser of dirt and screams. The gun went silent mid-burst, crew scattering like roaches, one silhouette cartwheeling down the slope with his tunic aflame. "What the?" George hissed, peeking over the lip, his bayonet trembling. The Japs up top froze, heads whipping toward their rear, Arasaka swinging wild into the underbrush. Shouts in that clipped tongue, panic, not orders, rolled down, mixed with the crackle of return fire into empty green. Bullets chopped leaves, but no target answered. Our arty had quit pounding us when the barrage lifted, but now their own lines lit up with confusion, a truck back there. Ammo hauler, canvas bulging, belched orange. Tires popping as it rolled into a ravine, secondary blasts popping like fireworks. I blinked sweat, heart kicking. "Eyes on that shit!" I growled low, dragging a wounded Joe deeper into the ditch's curve, where a coral overhang gave slim shadow. The lieutenant gaped, map forgotten in the muck. "Sarge, that's in their rear. Flank? No. Something else. A ghost, maybe, whispering through the kunai, turning the tables without a face. Their advance stalled, officers barking, pointing shadows while privates sprayed the bush blind. That gave us air. A ragged breath in the choke. "Move the hurts," I snapped, and we hauled. Robert first, George Bear hugging him over roots, then the others, litters improvised from packs and ponchos, inching toward a fold where vines draped like curtains. No more grenades incoming, their lobbers too busy chasing phantoms. The air cooled a fraction, humidity parting like mercy. A low rumble echoed, not mortars, but another pop, methodical from the rear. Vines rustling, then silence broken by a Jap yelp. Their truck fire spread, smoke pillar marking the chaos, drawing eyes away. For the first time since the trap sprung, hope flickered. Thin as a cigarette paper. But there. George slumped beside me, rifle across knees, whispering hoarse, "What in Christ's name is that, Blues? Devil or angel?" I shook my head, thumbing a fresh clip home with a click that felt like promise. Didn't know. Didn't care. Whatever it is, it's buying us time. Grenades ready. On my mark. We hit back. We crouched, breath sinking to the distant fray, fingers loose on triggers. Hacksaw waited beyond, but right now, survival sang louder than surrender. Smoke hung thick as sin in the draw. Our foxhole a charnel pit of spent brass and broken men. We'd clawed 8 survivors from the muck, George propping Robert, Lieutenant white-knuckled on his Thompson, Joe binding what wounds he could with rags that used to be shirts. The Japs Type 99 had jammed or reloaded, but now their Chiha tank growled up the slope, that squat beast of riveted steel, 57mm cannon, traversing slow toward our lip. Tracks chewed coral to dust, engine rumble vibrating bones. One shot from that gun, and we'd be vapor. Bunker buster round, turning the overhang to confetti. Flat, I hissed, piling dirt frantic with my entrenching tool. Boys' bellies down, breaths held like prayers. Their infantry fanned out behind. Arasaka's ready for the mop-up, bayonets thirsty. Endgame. My fault, all of it. Sent the kid to die, led these brothers to slaughter. Hacksaw would chew us up, MacArthur's glory built on our bones. The turret whirred, muzzle flash winking. Round lancing out, slamming the ridge 20 yards left. Blast wave slapping us flat, ears ringing bells. Dirt rained, a chunk grazing my helmet with a clang. George cursed low. That's it, Blues. Lord, take us quick. Lieutenant's eyes squeezed shut, lips moving. No West Point mantra, just a boy's plea. I jacked my grand last clip home. 8 rounds for the Emperor. Better to die spitting lead than begging. Japs closed, shadows lengthening in the smoke. One barking orders like a dog. The tank revved, tracks biting for the final crush. Then, crack. Not ours. A single grand ping from the rear vines, clean as a preacher's amen. The tank commander's dome-mounted periscope shattered, glass spraying. He slumped, blood sheeting his viewport. The beast slewed wild, driver blind poking. But another shot, precise through the vision slit, dropped him too. Engine whined high, tracks locking in death spiral. From the flank, a grenade arced true, not pineapple, but a scavenged Type 97, lobbed into the treads. Boom! Suspension buckled. The Chiha listing like a drunk. Cannon skyward, useless. Japs wheeled, firing blind into green, panic shouts fracturing their line. That bought us seconds. Gold in hell. Out of the haze stepped Samuel. Preacher. Alive. Gutter black from mud and soot, medic pouch torn, but his eyes, those wide deer eyes, burned steady now. Cross necklace blood-streaked but proud. No shake in his hands. He cradled a Garand slick with oil, bayonet bloody fresh. He'd strung that wire, phone line snaking from his heel like a lifeline, crawled the ridge alone, spotted the trap from Hill 91, called it in silent, then ghosted back. Faith-fueled spine, preacher's son steel. Used the mist for mask, rural patience to wait. Then struck. Headshots on the officers, gutted a sentry quiet with the blade for his grenade. Medic's eye for vitals. Turned killer when brothers screamed. One man undoing the noose. He hit our line sliding, breath ragged but even, dropping a Jap helmet trophy at my boots. Ridge clear, Sarge. Saw the buildup. Tanks in the draw. Infantry flanking. Cut the snake at the head. Voice steady, no crack. George stared. Robert managed a grin through pain. Lieutenant exhaled like a man reborn. I looked him up. Boy gone, warrior etched in grime. Scars starting. No words fit, praise cheap as K-rations. I just nodded, sharp, chin jut once. Highest gospel in this dirt cathedral. Nightfall, ridge hours. We huddled round a smudge pot's glow. Smoke to fool patrols. Preacher patched Robert final. Prayers soft now, not whispers. I pulled my flask, Kentucky mash. Warm bite, passed it silent. His hand closed firm. Brother.